You're listening to Bold Hearts, Big Moves, the show for female entrepreneurs who want it all: a thriving business, deep self love, and fulfilling relationships. I'm Erin Anderson, and each week we will dive into how to set stronger boundaries, make empowered choices, and show up in life and business with boldness, authenticity, and heart. Because let's be real, the money you make is directly related to the love that you have for yourself and the strength of your relationships. So if you're ready to lead with love and make those big moves with those bold hearts, let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bold Hearts, Big Moves, a place where female entrepreneurs can learn how to heal trauma, create more supportive relationships, and create clients and cash flow. All these things I am crazy excited about. And I love seeing how these concepts have worked in my own life, and I really want to help you guys as my listeners to solidify these concepts as well. And if you've listened to any of my past episodes, you're probably catching the drift now that our relationships really are tied to the way that we create money or the beliefs about money or anything like that. So today I really wanted to touch on a saying that I tell my clients, and that is, if trust is low, there is no dough, right? And what do I mean by dough? I'm not talking about the thing they make in the kitchen and cut into squares to make rolls, right? I'm literally talking about cash. If trust is low, there is no dough, right? Or you could even say, if trust is low, there is no flow, right? And this is part of the reason too why, one of the greatest questions I personally get asked is, well, how do I build back trust? Or how do I trust again? Or who do I trust, right? Trust is such a major thing that everybody wants in their business, that everybody wants more of. And for the female entrepreneur, it makes sense because one of the greatest things that we value as a female entrepreneur is safety. Women in general around the world value safety, and it's because we honestly are more of a prey gender than what we are the what do you call it, like the prowler gender. I don't know what you say it, but the in general the world is a lot more hostile towards women and children than it is to men. And so safety is a major key ingredient to our success. If we feel safe, we can feel successful. Okay? So it makes sense then why, how do I trust again comes up a lot. And really what they're asking is, how on earth do I see past my fears, my traumas, what's happened to me, so that way I can go off and create more money for myself, create the things that I want, be able to focus on my desires and actually know that I can have them. Like, how do I do that? Right? So today we're talking about this. And honestly, if you're having inconsistencies in income, there honestly could be a trauma at the source of that. Some sort of a belief that happened because of trauma, and it's connected to your money mindset, right? So I want to give you guys just a couple of examples of how trust or low trust works in business for female entrepreneurs, right? So let me give you a scenario. A female entrepreneur offers coaching services and has an amazing call or discovery call with a potential client, and the client seems really excited, but at the last minute they say, I don't know, let me think about it. get it. I've had that happen a lot. Right? Now, obviously, this is an objection, and there's nothing wrong with objections. We need to be really good at helping people overcome their objections, right? And so, as an entrepreneur, if something like this happens to you, we can get curious and simply ask questions like, what do you want to think about, right? Are there specific things that I could be more clear with you on? I want you to have all the details. Just let me know, right? But honestly, what I've noticed happens, and this has happened in me, is like if I'm subconsciously signaling some type of self-doubt or some type of doubt, right? So like over-explaining, justifying price, hesitant body language. And if I'm honest with you, anytime that that's happened in my own coaching practice, it's been because in the back of my head, like I might not be sure about my program or sure if I can help them or sure about something. Maybe I'm not sure if they'll actually put the money in or there's some sort of a doubt energy there and it creates that hesitancy in the potential client, right? And so energetically and subconsciously, somebody will pick up on that and it'll create doubt in them. Again, people buy confidence, right? People buy what they want. If you know you can help them get what they want, they'll be willing to buy it. This is why Amazon works so well, right? People know that Amazon probably has what they need or want, right? Uh, and that's why Amazon has such huge sales every single day. They're confident that they can deliver, and we're confident that they'll deliver, right? And so oftentimes we don't hesitate spending money on something from Amazon. But we do often hesitate spending money on somehow bettering our lives or ourselves, and especially if there's a seed of doubt coming from the coach, right? But let me give you another entrepreneur. This woman was selling handmade products. And if you guys know anything about handmade products, they can take a long time to do. She was pricing them too low because she was afraid people wouldn't buy them if she charged more. But she resented the time and effort that it took, feeling like she was being undervalued, right? Again, this is another one I can totally connect to because I am someone who loves crafting. I love all crafty things, but I also know that the time and effort that it takes to get into those crafts. And for me, I rarely sell my handmade gifts or my handmade products for this very thing, right? I make these little handmade beaded temples, and one temple will be in the area of like 100 hours. And if I were to sell one of those for a good hourly rate, I'd be selling one of them for like $3,000, right? Is there somebody out there that will buy that? Yep. But is there also an equal amount of people out there that'll be like, that's too expensive? Yep, absolutely. And for me, I love focusing instead on my coaching and helping people change their lives. So for me, I do these for like gifts. I do them for uh like raffles or charity auctions or things like that. I'll do them all the time for those. But I don't necessarily do them for money because I don't want to take the time to find the client that'll pay $3,500 for my beaded temples, right? But for this woman who is doing these handmade gifts, so maybe like depending on what it is, right? She's probably thinking that charging more is selfish or that nobody will buy, at that price, right? And when she finally started charging more, she attracted the client who valued her work more, right? These are people that really loved what it was that she did. And so, if you take a look at the two of them, trusting in your pricing can determine the level of clients you attract, right? Or the type of clients you can attract. And so, this is one thing that I go through a lot with my own personal clients is this idea of charging for their advice or charging for their expertise or charging more and creating money so that way they can take care of their families, right? It happens a lot, but there's a trust issue there, either in their coaching programs, in themselves, possibly in the clients. Somewhere there's a trust issue, right? Because there's been some type of a trauma. Honestly, that's going to be 100% of the time. That's what I've seen, right? And so teaching them about like how to process this, that the charging of your products and services actually is a type of trust signal. Like how much you're charging is honestly how much you trust your ability to help other people. And if you don't feel comfortable charging that price, there's no shame, there's no guilt, but you want to take a look at, like, if you feel like you can't charge the price that you want to ask for what you do, well, where's the trust issue, right? So take a look at that. So let's talk about this know, like, and trust factor, okay? Like, people buy from those they know, they like, and they trust. Does that sound like a relationship to you by any chance? Right? Like, again, let's talk about Amazon for just a second. Well, do you know Jeff Bezos? I don't personally know the guy. You might, it's possible. But for the most part, most people that I know don't know Jeff Bezos personally, right? However, they do trust Amazon, right? There's a relationship there of knowing, liking, and trusting. Not necessarily with Jeff Bezos, but with the idea that Amazon, in and of itself, has things that we want, that we need, we like these things, and we trust that these things will come to us, right? We buy from Amazon all the time because of that know, like, and trust factor, right? So the thing is if some like if you've ever noticed like the exchange of money, like if you've ever had to pay for something, you might feel a little ick as soon as that money leaves you, right? It is kind of a painful process sometimes to give money, especially if there's any type of seed of doubt anywhere in your brain, right? But if there's a know, like, and trust factor in there, we tend to trust that we will get the value for our money or somehow return a return on our investment, right? And that is major. Like that's important when it comes to creating uh anything in the entrepreneur space, right? Um I have a friend who owns a boutique, right? She's amazing. She's so much fun. I love her with all my heart and soul. I don't buy clothes from her though. And it's not because I don't know, like, and trust her personally. It's more or less that her style is very different from mine. But she has clients that love that style. They connect with that style. And so she has a wonderful client base, right? Me personally, I don't trust that she's got clothes in there for me. So what am I not doing? I'm probably not buying from her, right? But if she has clothes for me and I love them, what am I going to do? I trust that I'm going to love what she does. Know, like, and trust that somebody that has a flow of money coming to them, right? So, so let's talk about like what do we trust, right? Well, trust is really made up of three things: reliability, consistency, and connection. Right? Reliability, consistency, and connection. Those are the three things that honesty or trust, I'm sorry, is made up of. Right? So when we trust someone, we feel like they are reliable, they've been consistent in their honesty, in their reliability, in their ability to deliver, consistent in some way, maybe even consistent emotionally, supportive, right? And so we have some sort of an emotional connection, right? So what about with Amazon again, right? Well, you might not be emotionally connected to Jeff Bezos, but are you connected to the thing you want? Most likely. You have an emotional connection there. Hence why whatever it was that you wanted came to you. That's kind of a big deal. And if you guys want to know more about that specific thing, pay attention for when my next version of the Feminine Money Mindset comes out. I did a trial basis just this last week on it. I loved it. But we go into connection, that emotional connection, a little bit more in depth there. Or you can also be paying attention for the next couple of weeks because we're going to talk a little bit about that feminine money mindset as well in the next couple of weeks. So let's keep going. So when we do have a lack of trust in ourselves or in business, though, that can often come out as like inconsistent messaging, underpricing, or over-explaining, right? And guess what, guys? I have been so guilty of all three things, and it's been interesting because, as I've moved from, betrayal trauma and more into general trauma, relationships, and creating cash for the female entrepreneur, right? I've been thinking to myself, okay, so what is my message, right? It's been a little fuzzy. And so clarity, also another piece of the feminine money mindset, is key when we also want to build trust with our audience, right? So when we don't have trust in ourselves or in our business or in our structure or something, that inconsistent messaging, the underpricing, the over-explaining, all of these things. And so we do, cultivate as a feminine entrepreneur, as a female entrepreneur, our approach to trust is all about relationships. It's not about like pushing the transactions. That's more of a masculine side type of things, which is totally fine. But for us, it's all about cultivating those relationships and creating that clarity, that consistency, that connection, and that communication, right? So, we've talked a little bit about like what can be blocking your sales. Could be doubt in your offers, the clients sense that uncertainty, over explaining your prices. Like if you feel guilty about charging that much, or explaining like why you charge that much, that can be kind of an issue for a client, right? Like they don't care why. They care about whether or not you can help them feel confident enough for that $20,000, right? And if you over explain your prices, that also signals a lack of confidence, avoiding follow-ups, attracting skeptical clients. All of these things like are part of like the blocks that we get when trust is low, right? And what that does for our clients is that creates a low trust. And if you think about it, so if you have that, like if you have those things happening in your business, one of the things you might want to do, one of the things you might want to pull back on and really consider is where did that come from, right? Where did the belief that you can't ask for the money, where did the belief of, well, nobody really wants what I have to offer, where did these beliefs come from and how do we address them, right? But we first and foremost have to understand why we have the beliefs in order to change them, right? So you might have had past trauma. For me, it was really interesting. I didn't come from a family that was necessarily poor financially. We always had exactly what we needed, or oftentimes what we wanted, and we went on these really great vacations as a family. But there was definitely some abuse and some trauma in my home growing up. And my dad, bless his heart, worked really, really long hours to make sure that our family had that kind of an income. And now, today his health is suffering for that. Even though I love my dad and even though I love my family, because the trauma that I received as a kid did affect my money mindset. It made me wonder if I was worth it, right? That was something that was stuck in my subconscious for a long time. And so I struggled charging those higher prices. I struggled finding clients for those higher prices. I struggled those things. But honestly, a lot of this is a mindset thing. So once we start to heal those traumas, right? We start to have that confidence come up. We start to show up for ourselves in a whole different light. We start to understand our worth. We start to understand what we can give. And we're just confident in our ability to help the client. When we have that confidence in order to help clients, we gain clientele, right? So the first thing we've got to do is address the trauma. If you guys want to help doing that, right, I will drop a link in the description below. It should be, you know what, let me look it up. Hold on. If you want help moving your money blocks, and getting to the root of what your trauma is, I do have a link you can get right now, and it is in the description below. It is Calendly, so like calendar, calendly.com/Erin Anderson coaching /busting money blocks. Okay. So you can go ahead and schedule a free busting your money block session with me there. It is also, again, like I said, I've reiterated this many times in the description below, where I can help you figure out like what is the trauma really at the root of your money block. One of my favorite calls to do, guys, and that's a free call. If you want something like that, feel free to get in and schedule that call, right? After you start healing that trauma, you can also start to hear your worth, right? You start to feel like maybe I am actually worth something. Maybe I can like myself. This is where we get into the be your own best friend situation, right? Show up for yourself like you would a best friend. And so like I really want you to consider if you're struggling with creating clients, if you're struggling creating cash flow, if you're struggling with these things, I want you to ask yourself, is there anything in your thoughts or your language towards yourself that shows low trust? If that is, would you say those words to your best friend or somebody that you loved? And if the answer is no, those are not words that you should use on yourself, and you've got to switch the languaging up. So something along the lines of, say, you had a webinar scheduled, right? And you accidentally fell asleep, slept through the webinar, and all of the people that were waiting on the webinar were like, "Where'd she go?" Right? You can sit there and beat yourself up for that. You stupid fool. Why did you fall asleep? Blah, 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 blah. Like, you don't deserve a business. Or you can say, and like I said, that's a pretty extreme situation, but you could also say, you know what? I definitely could have handled that better. I'm going to send out an apology to my people, and I am going to make sure, like, these are the ways that I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. But I'm going to forgive myself. I'm still human. I still make mistakes. I'm grateful this mistake came up because it shows me something I need to work on. And I'm going to work hard to make sure that my clients still trust me, right? I'm going to apologize. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to rebuild that trust. I'm going to be consistent in some way that helps them know that I'm trustworthy, and in some way that helps me remember that I'm trustworthy, right? It's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different languaging. So trusting yourself, your ability to take accountability, honestly, for your actions, not blame yourself. Remember, that is the, uh, let's see, fifth adversary. Yes, that is the fifth adversary in the seven pillars. By the way, that book is going to be coming out soon, so stay tuned. That's the fifth adversary in the seven pillars, blame. The opposite of that is true ownership, owning the problem, owning what happened, but also owning that you're still an amazing person. We don't need to sacrifice that in order to heal our weaknesses. As a matter of fact, we need to hold firm to that in order to heal our weaknesses, to make our weaknesses become strengths. If we feel like we are a weak person, how on earth do you ever expect to get rid of your weaknesses? Right? The way you view yourself matters. So you need to trust yourself in your ability to take ownership, accountability, true ownership and accountability for your life, your actions, your results, right? And also your ability to make decisions and hold boundaries. So, also, other ways to help yourself trust is, like I said, making sure that you speak kind words to yourself. Think about, be your own best friend. How would you speak to a best friend? Take those words and use them inwardly. Make sure that you start tracking your money, where it goes, right? Now, some of you, that might feel a little exhausting. I know it did for me when I first started doing this. And to be honest, I'm still working out my own system in some of this. But you want to keep a money boundary to yourself, right? Money rituals. Money does very well with a flow type of an energy. Well, if you think about a riverbank, there's a specific pathway for that river to flow. Let's create that pathway, right? Set clear business boundaries. Rewire old money wounds. Heal that trauma. Shameless plug. Get on calendly.com/forward/Erin Anderson coaching /busting money blocks. Get a call with me to help you find out what your money blocks are, what's the trauma behind the block, and let's start helping you also gain more confidence in yourself and your business, right? So trust isn't built overnight. It is something that is built through consistent, aligned actions, right? Because somebody can be consistently a stinker or consistently narcissistic, But what do we do? We trust that person to be a stinker or consistently narcissistic. The alignment is a big part of this too, because they need to align with our values, right? If someone doesn't, it's okay. We can still love them for being human and appreciate their humanness, but it doesn't mean that we have to allow that to affect our relationship with ourselves or even our relationships with other people. We don't need it to, right? And so trust is built through consistent and aligned, reliable actions. So show up consistently in your messaging. Know what it is that you want to do. What do you want to say? What is your message? Speak with confidence about your offers, share your story and your values, follow through with your promises, create a client experience that feels safe and supportive, and trust yourself. Trust yourself to make decisions. Trust yourself to make spectacular failures, that you'll learn from it and that you're going to do better the next time. It's okay to make mistakes. It's totally okay. Trust the mistakes, right? So, when we want to create 6+ figures in our business, trust can lead to a lot of financial expansion, can't it? You know, if your clients or potential clients immediately trust that you can help them, well, what ends up happening? You start creating more clients, right? More income. Trust yourself in your pricing, the sales conversations, and the value delivery. One of my favorite ways to trust listen to me, myself in a sales conversation is just to make it a no pressure conversation. You know, that I just show up to help that person to make a decision out of love. That's it. When I check into the love energy, it's very easy for me to have a sales conversation with someone without being pushy, right? Because I really hear them. I really want them to know that I care about their experience and their reality. And I want to help them change that to the experience and reality that they want instead. That's a wonderful thing. And so I just check into that love, no pressure. We just see if we're a good fit. That's it. And if we're not, it's okay. I can still love them. Okay? Trust yourself. That's a big one. Be your own best friend. And the more you do these things, this is a repeatable action. These actions are 100% repeatable. And because they are repeatable, they create more consistent cash flow. These are things that helped me get to 6 figures. Okay? So make sure, again, you know, I totally am giving you a shameless plug, you guys, but I want you to take advantage of that Busting the Money Blocks call if you would love to take a look at what your subconscious is really saying and heal that trauma so you can create more money. Get on that call. Let's chat. No, no expectations, no worries. It's just, these are really fun calls. They really are. And I want you to really consider, where in your business are you operating from a lack of trust? This is something that honestly, I think almost any entrepreneur, especially the female entrepreneur, needs to be looking at on a consistent basis. If there's any area in their business that they're not satisfied with, where is the trust low? How do we build boundaries around that so the trust can come back up and then we have that safe space, right? So make sure that you take one small step. I really, really would invite you to take a look at your relationship with yourself. Most money blocks start there. Take a look at that. How can you start to improve that or even improve it more than what you already have today, right? And until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let's bring up the trust so you can create 6+ figures or more. Create the things that you want in your life and in your business. All right, my loves. I will chat with you soon. See you next week. Bye.
All right, Boundary Boss babes. I'm super excited that you tuned in with me today. Make sure you tune in again next week as we chat about more Boundary Boss babe topics. We're going to get into so many other things about how to set boundaries with your business, how to set boundaries with your relationships, so you can truly have the time, the money, and the flexibility that you are seeking. So tune in next week. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Let your other boss babe friends know about it. And also, if you've got any questions, make sure you submit them into the podcast by clicking on the send us a text message at the bottom of the podcast description. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. See you later, boss babes.